1. Well, hey, Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you this week. I got two words that aren't even supposed to be in the same sentence, and we're going to put them like right next to each other, and we're going to look at them from a unique perspective. The two words are work and life. We generally hear of work-life balance, and I am honored to be hanging out with somebody that added a word to it, which is going to totally give you guys a different perspective. So I'm honored to be hanging out with Arlene Cohen-Miller. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. You are the CEO of Jewel Consultancy. So fill us in on what's going on at Jewel Consultancy.
Well, it's my business. It's been my business for quite a few years. And basically, what I do is I do coaching and mentoring. So, coaching is when I partner with my clients and I know that they have all the answers within them. And I ask them powerful questions and I might share my insights or something I'm noticing about them, but I sort of let them guide and move forward. And mentoring is more like, um, people stand on my shoulders for the wisdom that I've gained through the years to help bring more balance and harmony in their lives. And I maybe give them tasks and stuff to do and things like that that have worked for me and work for the groups through the groups I'm with. And so those are the two things I do. As a part of mentoring, I also do soul readings. So basically, I work with psychic tarot oracle cards, and but it's more like a heart to heart connection with the people that I work with,
Okay.
and just to share with them because adult learners are often very visual. They're visual, auditory, kinesthetic. You sort of bring all those things together, and it's a lot
Sure.
easier for people to get something if we're doing it from that realm. And they pick cards, I pick cards, even if we're online. And we work with like the opportunities that are available, the challenges they might be experiencing, some things to move around, obstacles in their life, and anything else they really want to bring to the table.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So I got to ask the question right off the bat is how in the world, so you started in the law world. You're an attorney by trade, so we won't do any attorney jokes today. But it's like, how did you get from that into coaching? Because it seems like that's a pretty big leap. And I was just curious how that happened for you.
It happened kind of organically. I have some really interesting friends, and one of my girlfriends went through coaching training, and she just felt like what was missing was like the heart and soul, to bring that into coaching and working with people. And then I had another girlfriend who went through all sort of what do you call it, counseling training, and felt
Sure.
that that was the same thing that was missing for her. So I ended up, while I was still an attorney, going and getting my diploma in coaching and mentoring and getting a diploma in transformational holistic counseling. It's from Australia, so I can't use it in the US. I didn't want to go ahead and get a master's and do that as well.
Sure.
But I went to do that because when I moved to Colorado, I was a commercial attorney and I was on the phone negotiating a lot of settlements. We had a couple of employees, attorneys, and then some paralegals. And I just had this knowing kind of drop on me that I really wasn't very good at listening. Law school did not teach me how to listen. Big
Okay.
surprise. It taught me
Sure.
about winning cases, how to know the law, how to do all that kind of stuff, but it didn't teach me how to listen. And so I got these extra diplomas. And I also got a certification in meditation just because the practice of law is very, very stressful. And it felt like
Sure.
it would help me to chill out a little bit. And so after doing that for a number of years, because I practiced law for a long time, I had my own law firm for quite a few years in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. I sold it. I moved out to Colorado when my son was 9. And so um, I love the law, but I just got a little bit burnt out. With the law, you're always married to it. I was always been an entrepreneur except for the first 3 years I was out of law school. And
Sure.
if you travel, if you go on a vacation, you have to work hard before and after, and it's always there. Coaching and mentoring, it's different. You're helping people, but you can set your own hours.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. And we love to have that journey discussion. And like you just said, Arlene, you lasted about 3 years in corporate America. And then did you know going through college that you were eventually gonna be doing something on your own, or were you kind of just more concerned about getting through it and then you worry about where you would land afterwards?
I don't know. I was young, graduated from college when I was 22. I went to law school and I graduated when I was 25. And I can remember having discussions with my professors going, I was then married to as I went through law school, my ex-husband went through medical school, and then we were going to go up to Cleveland for his residency. I'm like, "Will I get a job?" I was like, I didn't know because
Sure,
I didn't. So, my father, but I would say that my father was a great role model for all that. He was an entrepreneur. He was like my role model for all of that. I worked for him a little bit when I was growing up, and he was always his own man. And so I had a role model in my father. He my when my family came over, I think that most of them came from Russia. All of my grandfathers, uncles, and brothers on my father's side went into the movie theater business. They bought movie theaters, and my father was a part of that too. And then he broke away and he created a business that sold all the concessions, all the machines, and everything to the movie theaters and schools. So I
hmm,
got to help work in this place a little bit when I was in high school.
sure,
And he chose to break away and to be his own person, and I think that got in my blood or my genetics, and so
yeah,
I didn't know then when I went to college and law school what I was going to do. I wanted to be
sure.
hired by somebody. I just wanted to work, but
Yep.
but that's how it turned out.
Well, so from an outsider's perspective, I hear somebody coming from Europe and I hear attorney. The words in my mind are like working 24/7, like you're always working, especially starting your own business like that. Was your dad's work ethic like always working, always something, or was he able to separate work and personal life?
No, my father separated work and personal life, and we got a great deal out of it. We could go to movie theaters anywhere in the area for free because he was
Right?
a part owner at a bunch of movie theaters, and my grandparents and his brothers were. But
Sure.
no, he separated it, and maybe it was different back then. I don't know, but he would come home every day about 5:30, have his martini, read his newspaper, and then we'd have dinner, and it was a pretty normal family life. It was the kind of business that you could get things done during the day. So
Sure. Yeah.
that wasn't my father. He was a hard worker and
Yeah.
dedicated to his business and his clients, and he was really kind and professional and helpful with his employees. But he wanted to have a family life too.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's one of the big blind spots that I really want to start with today is it feels like, especially in entrepreneurs, it feels like we have to be on 24/7. We have to have our phone open all the time. We have to be accessible. I don't know where that came from, but it sure doesn't feel healthy to have that kind of weight constantly around. So you had a great role model from that. Did you then struggle in your world, trying to balance that, Arlene, or were you pretty dialed into that early on as well?
Well, when my son was young, because I got found out I was pregnant when I opened my first law firm, like a month
Okay,
later in Lakewood, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland. And all my family was in Louisville, Kentucky. My ex's family was in Louisville, Kentucky. All my law school peers were in Kentucky in the bottom part of Ohio and Indiana. So I was like, what do I do? And
sure.
so I just sort of developed my own tribe and friends and stuff like that. I was a runner back then, and we'd run and we'd chat, and the kids would go into daycare while we did that. So I did my best, to find some sort of balance. And I was lucky that my husband, had a roof over our heads and food on the table while I was starting my practice. Because, I mean, the first year or two that you are in business, aren't necessarily the most stellar, economic years of your life. So I always tried. It was not easy, especially as my son was like in middle school and high school, with all of his activities and, running a business. So I just, I might pick him up from school and then bring some stuff at home to do. But I tried not to go over the top because it really got just too stressful.
Yeah.
You need your private time. You need your time that to de-stress and relax and take care of yourself.
Is that like a litmus test here where if you are stressed all the time or you experience burnout or anxiety, are those kind of like warning signs that you're out of balance in that scenario?
Well, it's a warning sign to take better care of yourself because when
Sure.
I was younger, what I would do, especially, as an attorney, I would feel all these warning signs that even acknowledge it. And I just, because it was like my human bit of me was going, we've done a bunch of really great things this morning, Arlene. We need a break. We need a break. I'm like, oh, just one more thing, just one more thing.
Yeah,
And I'd plow through. And, I went through some counseling and coaching back then because I was really, really anxious. And it took like a long time for me to really go, maybe that's why I went through the counseling and the coaching course to really have a
sure.
way, learn more skills of how to take care of myself. And but I never gave up working out, through the whole time. I didn't care what people thought. I was a runner before. I do yoga now and hiking because I live in Colorado.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm not giving that up because the people that give that up, they start falling apart, in their
Yeah,
40s or 50s, and I'm not going to do that. So
yeah,
I know I was kind of judged, but I was like, I don't care, you know?
right. Yeah. Well, and I think so. The word that you added, which I love, it's work-life balance and harmony.
Yeah.
So, like, people listening right now around the world, Arlene, we all fight this every day. Just one more project, just one more email, just one more phone call, just one more thing. And before you know it, we're so out of balance. It generally, like you said, it hurts you if you're in a family unit, if you're in some kind of relationship, some kind of, where there's other people around, it really hurts them as well. So where did the harmony piece come in for this for you?
Well, I started off with work-life balance because people understood what that was. And then I just felt
Sure.
like, gosh, something is really missing. Because if you're trying to be in balance, you're trying to be perfect. And that's where I think we get a lot of our stress. We put all these
Yeah.
expectations on ourselves. We set a to-do list that we want to get done in one day that could take at least a week or two.
Mm.
And then we judge ourselves for not getting that stuff done. And so that balance brings in that perfection and that expectations, and that's just not helpful. So
Yeah.
when you bring in the harmony, you're bringing in that kindness, that patience and tolerance with yourself so that you do give yourself a break. And what I found personally and professionally is that when I actually do that, I feel like revitalized. I feel like I have a new lease on life. I feel like if I do that midday or for myself, then I have like a whole bunch of time after that that I feel like I'm born anew, and then I
Yeah.
have a whole clean slate and more energy to actually get things done. And I am more productive, I feel, by gifting myself, that self-care and that self-love. And so I really encourage the people that I work with to do that. At least give it a go, because even if you say I don't have time, we have time to scroll on our phones. How much time do we take doing that? There's all sorts of things we do in our life that we could let go of, that
Yeah.
are going to let go of stress, get us away from that electromagnetic radiation, and begin to have a new way of experiencing our world.
Oh, that's great. And you brought up something really cool that I want to make sure that we don't gloss over is like you said, gift yourself something. I don't know where it came from that we should deprive ourselves of things, but again, whatever. I love that gift yourself something and kind of unpack that because some people probably go to the extreme of thinking huge, big life-changing gifts, and then some people think I'm not worthy. So, how do you kind of help somebody with that concept that's listening?
Well, I think we tell ourselves the story. Maybe it's passed down genetically. Maybe it's just imprinted it on, can't talk, imprinted on us from society that we're supposed to, in order to acknowledge ourselves, in order to celebrate something, we have to write a book. We have to be a platform speaker. We have to do something absolutely amazing. And I think that's a pile of gunk. Because if
Hmm,
we acknowledge all the little things we do every day, all those accomplishments, and celebrate them, that's like a foundation for a more joyful and happy life.
sure.
And what we're doing is we're gifting ourselves the time to take care of ourselves so that we feel we're filling our cup up with love, and we're sharing that overflow with other people so we don't get burnt out the way I ended up doing a little bit in the practice of law. And so it's not complicated. It just we I think we have to learn that it's okay to apply that to ourselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that's selfish, But the thing is, if your cup of love, your cup of self-care is empty, and you still have to give to other people, your kids, your partner, whatever it is, your employees, whoever you're working with, you're going to get
Yeah.
resentful. You're going to get frustrated. You might lash out. Then you're going to judge yourself for doing that. And you're going to repeat the cycle over again. But if your cup is filled and you're sharing that overflow, you're going to feel better. They're going to notice the difference. They're going to have a more positive experience with you. And it's win-win.
If you could just, as a listener, just let that sink in, because I think secretly we want to do things. We want to work out, or we want to go for a walk, or we want to whatever. It just feels like sometimes we don't feel like we're worthy of it. And so I just listen to what she said, let that soak in, because I hope you can gift yourself something, even if it's, 5 minutes. I know for me, I want to get your opinion on this. When you first started that gifting yourself, did you feel guilty in doing that? Was there guilt there for you early on, or were you like guilt free and you never struggled with that?
Oh, I can remember being counseled, had going in counseling, because my girlfriend was a great counselor that I took the course from. And
Yeah,
she would tell me our law office in Longmont, there was a library behind us, beautiful grass, benches, you could walk. And she was just like, she was from Australia, so they drink tea. It's like, go get a
yeah,
cup of tea and a biscuit, Arlene. Go sit on a bench for 15 minutes and then come
yeah,
back to work. And I was so resistant to doing it.
sure,
So it took a while for me to go, oh my God, I can't breathe. I'm really anxious. I need to listen to what she's saying because
sure,
she's telling me the truth. Just give it a go. It's got to be better than this. And
yeah,
so you don't have to get to the breaking point, because I think what people are going to find is if that you gift yourself that little bit of time, that time out. I view it I used to go to fancy restaurants. I really don't care about that anymore, but you have
sure.
a course and then you get that sorbet intermezzo and you cleanse a palate. So these like
Okay,
15 or hour time that we take for ourselves, it's like that intermezzo. And we're going to come back with a cleansed palate, and the rest of the course is going to be easier to eat and digest.
sure,
So, no, I did not do it gracefully. I was very stubborn and obstinate. So I'm
sure,
not like this perfect person here that just sailed through it.
sure,
I have had a habit in my life of learning through the school of hard knocks and then going, well, I'm on the floor. There's got to be a better way.
sure. Well, and I remember seeing some research about, that it's almost like the human brain or the human mind works really well for like 26 minutes, and then we need like 4 minutes of like downtime. And again, set aside the numbers and don't get messed up on that. But I feel like it's there, this thought process of work from 8 to noon and then take a lunch and then work noon to five or 1 to 5. Or worse yet, don't take lunch, to think you can work 9 hours without some kind of break in there. That just doesn't even feel right anymore. And I'm just curious, do you run into a lot of people, Arlene, that are very like, I gotta jam in as much as I possibly can in this time that I have?
Yeah, I see people like that. I also, I guess I'm encouraged by some of the professionals that I work with where, they have the money and everyone doesn't have the money to have like a nanny that drives their kids back and forth to their activities and or helps to
Sure,
clean their
sure,
house or do some of the things that they don't have time for. But what I deal with is a lot of driven people. And it's great to have ambition and to accomplish things, but there's a price, and we need to incorporate into that, which I do my best to help them do it, especially if they're experiencing a lot of stress and burnout, that there is another way, that you can be just as productive or more productive if you do take those breaks. And because oftentimes, some of the IT people I've talked to, they go, well, you know what? There's times like for about half an hour, 45 minutes during the day, because I'm not doing this, I'm just staring at my computer. I'm not
yeah,
getting anything done. I'm
right,
there. I haven't moved, but I'm just staring at the computer. And I went, well, maybe that's a signal that the
right,
time to take a break.
yeah. Why is it so hard for us to want to take a break?
I don't know. Maybe they're stubborn and obstinate like me. I have no idea.
Yeah, it just
I
seems
think,
so
yeah.
prevalent now that. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember, and we're going to take a quick break after this. I just remember early in my career when I owned my last company, I I did an all-nighter, and I had this sense of I was super like, wow, I want you to think better of me. I felt like there should have been a badge of honor that you stuck around all night. And people were like, dude, you're crazy. I'm way expecting these accolades. Oh my gosh, right, all this. And people were like, dude, you're crazy, you know. And so you realize at the end, looking back, that it's not really what value did you add? I mean, number one, after so many hours, you're just shut down. Like you were talking about the IT people that are just staring at their screen. I mean, they're adding no value to anything at that point, but yet they are having a hard time getting up out of the chair and like literally going to do something. So, do you run into is that a big thing for people that still struggle? Like they want to work on 15 hours every day, or do you run it most of your clients at least understanding that there's a balance there?
A lot of people don't, and it's not necessarily they're working 15 hours. If they're women and they have kids, they have
Yeah,
activities and they want to give time to their kids too. So it seems like people have a lot of plates spinning in their life, and maybe they're a member of organizations and they want to get out in those leadership things to make themselves known. So
yeah,
it's not that anything's right or wrong, but we do need that balance and harmony if we're beginning to lose it, to find ways to give back to ourselves in a way that works for us. And a lot of them have like two sides of their brain talking to them. One says, yes, you need to do it. And another one screaming, no, you can't, or you're going to lose this thing that you want to accomplish. So, I do the best with my coaching clients, but ultimately it's their decision. I can
sure.
only hold a judgment-free, compassionate space for them
Sure.
and share feedback of what I see, but ultimately people have to decide for themselves, how do I want to live my life?
Yeah. Wow, that's great. So yeah, and we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about this overwhelm and the plate spinning because I think that's really unique because I was limiting my thinking to just burnout from a job perspective, but you just talked about just life in general. So I want to unpack that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Honored to be hanging out with Arlene Cohen-Miller, the CEO of Jewel Consultancy. And before the break, we were talking about these plates spinning, and it got me to think that you could work 8 hours in your job and not necessarily be burned out or be stressed or be overwhelmed there. But then you're volunteering and your kids and your family and all these other things now. I love that thought process of, somebody going from plate to plate to plate to plate and keep spinning. We can probably, as a novice plate spinner, so to speak, I could probably keep three of them going. But if there was 10 or 15, I don't think I'd be able to keep them all going. Is that one of the things that you see a lot of? It's not just anxiety and overwhelm at work, but it just encompasses their whole entire life,
Well, I don't know anyone who's done 15 plates at once. That would be over the top. Maybe it's five
right?
or six. But yeah, especially with my women clients, most of them, a lot of them have children and it's really important for them to be a strong influence in their life and be there for them. And
Yep.
so you have that, and then they have some of them are climbing the corporate ladder, or they have goals in what they're doing of what they want to be in, like different organizations, maybe go up that ladder. They want to accomplish things at the same time. They want to be a good spouse. They have a partner and a good mother. And it's it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it's not that you can't do them all. The ones that are successful, it feels like they do take out time for themselves. They have the money to have extra help. And that can help a lot too. And
Sure.
I don't know, some of the ones who do spin all those plates, maybe I did that when I was younger. I don't remember having that many,
Sure.
but it's
But I think
something I
about
just can't fathom now.
school, kids, job, PTA, sports, working out. It doesn't take long to add these up. And I think that the more that the work takes over, then you just let one plate stop spinning and it falls and it breaks, and then you don't do it. So, like for you, was it hard for you to keep your running going during that, or were you just so intentional that you never wavered on that?
I never wavered because I
Good.
just I could feel the benefit. You know, it's like I had a tribe, some women and men that I would go one with 3 or 4 times a week, and
Yeah.
I would do some other like weight workout other days. But I just felt the benefits physically and mentally and like on all different levels and what it was giving to my son, my partner then, what I could bring to the table everywhere. That was
Yeah.
like it just made a huge difference for me. And maybe that's just my hyperactivity in my makeup. And some of my friends are like more into gardening or
Sure.
whatever it floats their boat. My way of
Yeah.
doing it is not the only way. You really have to feel into, kind of what makes my heart sing that's going to help me to be able to continue the life I'm choosing to live.
Yeah. Think you have to almost kind of spend some time on that to be finding what it is that you like, because on the surface, I love to garden until I see a whole garden of weeds, and then it no longer becomes fun, right? And then it's another plate to spin. So it's like, man, you know. So I don't know again if you can have stress in some of these did running and that physical activity, did that ever turn into a plate spinning for you, or was it always a very safe and healthy place for you to go?
Well, I was a little bit over the top because I ended up injuring myself and running my body into the ground with it. I didn't listen to my body. So,
Okay.
in my 40s, I ended up switching to coaching. Not coaching, but to yoga because my body
Yep.
just needed to heal. So that was the only thing I didn't do. I sort of carried on those characteristics that I was bringing to work and
Yeah.
getting things done to my running and not listening when my body said, "You need to give me a break, do something else." And until I
Wow.
was in a lot of pain. So I don't know if I'm a perfect role model for that, but I think, I'm not going to beat myself up for it, because I
Sure.
believe that mistakes are opportunities to learn and grow. We all make lots of mistakes. I made that mistake. But I
Yeah.
turned it into a blessing by finding, like a good massage therapist and getting some chiropractic and,
Sure.
switching over to yoga, which helped to heal my body. So just because we're going through all this doesn't mean we're not going to make lots of mistakes because I made a lot of mistakes. But I learned how to make them opportunities to learn and grow. And I believe that the most successful people, and maybe the most successful inventors on the planet definitely had that attitude.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think that mistakes are something that is a daily thing for most of us, pretty much all of us. But as we look at, are there some simple and easy ways that we can take care of ourselves? I mean, we're talking about some bigger ones. I'm just curious, are there simpler ones that you've identified over the years, Arlene, that you feel comfortable sharing with the listeners?
Sure. I have lots of tools, but I'll give your listeners like a really, really simple one, and that's breath
Sure.
work. Because
Okay.
physiologically, if you like breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your nose, and your out breath is longer than your in breath, physiologically it helps to take you from fight or flight into rest and relax mode. And
Mm,
so you don't have to spend time with something as simple as that, making it a separate activity. If you're listening to someone speak, you can breathe that way. If you're working on your computer, you can breathe that way. If you're driving your car, you can. It might take 5 or 10 minutes to really help yourself chill down and chill out because you've gotten yourself wound up about something. But there's all kinds of breath work out there. This kind of particular breath work just takes you from flight or flight to rest and relax mode. Other kinds of breath work help you to be more um, aligned to love and centered in your heart. So there's all kinds of stuff out there that you can practice, but that's one that I would start with.
So go through that one more time, because for somebody listening that's never heard that, so you want to breathe, you want to exhale longer than you're inhaling. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah, you're just breathing in through your nose, you're breathing out through your nose. I'll slow down. Sorry, I talk fast.
No, that's okay.
Breathe
I
in.
just want to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
getting it, because I'm used to like the four square box of 4 seconds breathe in, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, and then let it, sit for 4.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
this one I've never
that,
heard of before, so I
that's a
love I
great
love it.
that's a great kind of breath work, but it's going to be might be harder for people to do it if they're standing in line at the grocery store or they're listening to someone speak at a business meeting. This one is
Sure.
just so simple. You're just breathing in through your nose, you're breathing out through your nose, and your out breath is longer than your in breath. That's it.
Mm, wow.
And what it does, it just takes you from fight or flight to rest and relax mode. And the four square one you talked about, that's an awesome way to breathe too. This one is just easier because you have to breathe and you can do
Yeah.
this anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and who doesn't like the rest and relax mode? That sounds like a great, I went right to an island. I don't know why. I just went right to an island, rather than the fight or flight, rest and relax. I went right to that spot, you know. So when people are you thinking something specifically when you're doing that breath exercise there?
You
On yours?
can.
Are you trying to go somewhere with that, or are you just letting the oxygen do its job?
Well, you're oxygenating your body and you're also taking your body, from all that stress. But what I like to do is also train people once they've got that and they're beginning to see some results. You can like breathe in gratitude or breathe in acceptance or worthiness. Just pick something that resonates with you into your heart chakra area.
Yeah.
And when you're breathing out, you're just letting go of any stress in your body or feels. You might feel tension in your neck or your shoulders or whatever, your head or your solar plexus. You're just breathing that out and letting it go. And or you can do I like the like an island with an ocean and beautiful white sand and no one else there. With just a
Yeah.
nice, beautiful breeze and maybe a sunset. So if it helps you to visualize some place that you'd love to go and you sort of have a singing kind of relaxed heart when you're there, go for it. You can do this kind of breath work anywhere. So you can breathe, bring in that creative visualization to the process as well.
Wow, that would be awesome. We should all try that for 5 minutes right here. Just, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out from falling asleep. That's great. When you think about the anxiety and the stress that we are in, so like we do a lot of work with emotional intelligence, and one of the things in EQ talks about asking yourself the question of like, what's the worst that could happen? Because I feel like we tend to overbuild things up, and then all of a sudden we're operating in this spot of panic. And then, so I'm just curious, like, are we talking to I talk to myself, like just kind of like talk to myself, not in weird ways, but I just talk to myself like, Dave, what's like the worst that can happen right now? To kind of just, get that down a little bit. Are there some things that you guys use to try to, talk yourself off the ledge, so to speak, or try to get real with where you are? I'm just curious what you look at.
Yeah. Well, I sort of visualize and feel like what you're sharing is just another side of the diamond. Like there's all different sides of the diamond they can work. What I like to help people with is turning your inner critic into an inner coach. And
Okay.
so the first thing that we need to, and do it for more from a feeling space than from a thinking space. So the first thing we want to do is just ask the universe, hey, I want to be aware of how I'm talking to myself. Because when I was in my 20s, I wasn't. And there was so much negative self-talk about my relationships, about everything, that I didn't even hear myself. I thought that was a way to bond with my friends. And so,
Okay.
first of all, we're going to be aware of how we're talking to ourselves. And we're taught, and it feels like it's in our genetic line that we need to be negative and hard on ourselves and not appreciate what we bring to the table. And once
Yeah.
we identify that, sometimes what I do with myself, if that part of me feels really, really stuck, what I ask myself is like, how old is this part inside of me? Because
Mm,
maybe it's 8 years old or 15 or 22 or whatever, but something happened. Maybe I don't have to remember, but that bit feels really stuck or really feels sad or really feels dysfunctional or angry. And
yeah.
because I'm an adult now and I know that I'm a soul having a human experience, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to apologize to this bit for letting them languish or thinking that they have to be in control of something because that can cause a lot of the anxiety. It's the human bit of me and not the soul bit of me. And I
Mm,
love it because my love is the best medicine for this bit of me. And maybe it's a teenager that I didn't like her behavior. And I sort of like, back off and turn around and love those bits. And so that can help to let that part just let go and allow me as a soul to be in the driver's seat and not the kid because I wasn't there, I sort of stepped away and I thought, I don't want to deal with this stuff. They
Yeah.
thought they had to be in the driver's seat, and that became very stressful for me in this body. So and then what I'll do is I will, I'll let those feelings move through me and let them go and replace them with the light and love of source. And I'll also focus on, if I was my own best friend and I was telling my own best friend all the stuff that I'm telling myself, what would
Yeah.
I tell myself? Because we know how to champion and love and nurture and support other people. All we have to do is take those skills and turn around and apply them to ourselves.
Sure.
So it can be really empowering to know, hey, I do this with my partner. I do this with my best friend. I do this with the people at work. I really nurture and support and champion them. Just turn around and start practicing with ourselves, even if it feels really uncomfortable or hard or like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Well, and like you said, the inner critic, is that like, I feel like that's almost like the default for most people, where that's like, if you just start thinking about it, what I don't do, what I can't do, what I didn't get done, and we focus on the half empty glass rather than the half full about what we did do, what we are, what we can't, what we can accomplish. Do you feel like the inner critic is your research and experience showed that as being the default, or is it just certain people that have that?
I don't know. I know that I definitely had that because
Yeah.
I just thought that that was the way, if I was hard on myself, then if other people were hard on me, it wouldn't hurt so bad. And I just had a really kind of skewed way of thinking of things. And I think a lot of us are trained or we experienced it or it's just sort of passed down from generation to generation that that's what we're supposed to do. It's like that
Yeah.
kind of old religiosity stuff that you have to suffer to be holy. And so I think a lot of us have that in us and we have to really learn, we have to unlearn that stuff and let it go in a way that's loving and supportive for ourselves, not hard on ourselves, so that we can bring in that more positivity, we can bring in that more um, nurturing and championing ourselves.
Yeah. Do you feel like if so, like you were talking about this empty, so you have these thoughts and then you try to push them out or you push them out. Now you have this void. If you don't fill that void with something positive or something different than you pushed out, it seems like the negative seems to come back. It's kind of like you spray a hornet's nest, and if you leave it up there within a day, they're like back. you know
You're absolutely
so
correct.
okay, I was just curious. So, how are you filling the void then? I mean, because I don't like the thought of this fake it till you make it thing. I'm struggling with that for myself because I'm like, I want to be authentic, and I don't want to be this. I'm having a great day when I'm really not having a great day, but I don't want to say I'm not having a great day. It's kind of this weird balance there.
Right.
So, what do you fill the void with for yourself in that situation, Arlene?
Well, I sort of do things energetically, and so I like
Okay.
to visualize that there's a column of light around me from source anchoring into the heart of the work. It's like an invulnerable and invincible shield of protection for me. And I also set up that you just call it forth that anytime I let go of fear, because there's only really fear and love. Let go of the fear. You're right, those cells are vacant. If we don't put something in there, the fear is going to come back in spot on. So I just call forth the light and love of source, like the clear white light and the rose pink eternal love of source, to flood my bodies and fields. So whenever I let go of any fear, work with it to transmute it and transform it into love, that additional love comes in and floods my bodies and the cells all the way down to the smallest bits so that I am not allowing that fear to come back and just, repopulate again.
Hmm. And I think,
And and there's one
yeah,
more thing.
yeah, go ahead.
And if we go back to start thinking that old way, that negative inner critic kind of way, we can reinstall it. So we have to be really diligent with ourselves If we reinstall it as a mistake, we can do the whole process over again. But we have to be
Sure.
diligent not to start thinking that old way again that it reinstalled what we just let go.
It's so easy to have an open mind and then thoughts, and it's almost like, you open the dam up and water just fills up right where, the stuff was before. So it's encouraging to know that somebody that's invested as much time as you still has I always wonder if people like arrive somewhere where they're like, oh my gosh, I never think negative thoughts again. Or, I'm always like, is it just me that has to like relearn this every day? So
No,
I'm glad it's not
yeah.
just me.
I think it's just total horse manure that we ever get there. I'm
Yeah,
always going to be a work in progress as long as I need to have a physical body and come here and learn lessons and experience things. And
sure.
so I'm always going to be a work in progress. And hopefully it's a spiral where I'm continuing to move up, but we
Yeah.
all take steps forward and takes back. And that's where the mistakes are and the opportunities to learn and grow. And if anyone comes and says that they learned that in 1977 and they're beyond that, run a mile.
Yep, run away. Exactly. Cool. Well, hey, couple questions, Arlene, and I'm going to let you go. What would your tip of the day be for somebody listening? Maybe it's something that we covered, maybe it's something that's on your heart, but what would your tip of the day be for our listeners today?
I guess, feel into your heart, really what makes your heart sing that you're doing or you'd like to do a little more, you're not doing it all. Because we say that we don't have enough time, but then we do things that could sort of splay our time, like, scrolling on our cell phone or having to answer every single email or whatever it is, and find a way to at least make 15 minutes for yourself. Maybe it's singing or listening to some great music. Maybe it's sort of dancing around to music you love. Maybe it's going out for a walk. Maybe it's just sitting in your armchair and doing nothing. But whatever would really help you to rest and relax and rejuvenate and be that feeling of self love. Maybe a massage or a mani pedi. I don't care.
Yeah.
Find something, do something for yourself that's going to help you fill your cup with love.
Wow, that's great. And I want to hopefully she just gave you permission today to do something that makes your heart sing. And maybe it's like it doesn't need to be a trip to Tahiti for 2 months, right? We feel like it's always got to be these big things. I love to be able to just look out the window into our woods and watch, especially in the winter when there's no leaves and you see the deer and you see the turkeys and you see all, just that piece is like so grounding and so good for me, and then I'm able to jump back in and complete a task. So I'm just going to encourage everybody today listening to find that one thing, whatever that is. Like Arlene said, what makes your heart sing? Maybe it's literally singing. Who knows what it is? I don't think, as long as it's legal, we just always want it to be legal. Keep it legal, but then just enjoy that, because we're so darn stressed and wound so tight at times that this is the furthest thing from our mind. So I know somewhere in the world somebody's listening to this right now, and freedom is coming into their being. And I just want to encourage you to say, hey, it's okay. Because, I don't want you to feel guilty, like, oh my gosh, I got to get back to work, right? So do you struggle with that? One last question. Do you struggle with that, or are you now able to at least enjoy some of those day-to-day times for yourself?
I enjoy them. I mean, even if I have to sort of drag my rear end to yoga because I'm tired or whatever, or I'm irritable, once I get there and I walk into the community and I'm with my friends, and even if
Yeah,
the practice feels harder than usual, I always, by the time I'm out in the shower, going, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing yourself here." So
yeah,
maybe we don't start off with all that joy, but when we go through the process and we keep on taking care of ourselves, we do see more and more positive results in the long run.
sure. Great. And you spend a bunch of time coaching and mentoring people. So for somebody listening, if they wanted to connect with you, if they want to learn more about Jewel Consultancy, what's the best way for people to connect with you, Arlene?
Well, you can go to my website, Jewel, and my email and my my cell phone number are there, so you can always text me. I'll even
Okay.
give you that number right here at 720-936-2634. You can remind me that you saw me on the Positive Polarity podcast, and I will be sure to text you back. And if you want to chat, we can chat.
Awesome. So it's jewelconsultancy.com. That's the place to start. And again, Arlene Cohen-Miller is her name. And again, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this has been, I love permission to be able to do something that's helpful for my soul as well as helpful for my company. And I just appreciate so much the gift. I'm just gonna, my gift is gonna be just to kind of sit after this and just look, it's sunny today and I'm just going to look out the window for 5 minutes and just be like, man, that was really good. So thank you for that permission. Thank you for giving that gift to me. And I appreciate all that you're doing. And again, if you are interested, please reach out to Arlene. And as we say every week, rather than jump into your next thing, take a second and really like think about what you just heard. I'm the same way. I tend to want to go podcast to podcast to podcast, and I forget a lot of what gets, mentioned. So sit for your with yourself, and even if there's one thing, hopefully there is more, but if there's one thing that Arlene shared today, that's a small course correction in your life, it's going to give you so much freedom. It's going to give you so much more excitement and enjoyment so that we can have that work life balance and harmony and we won't necessarily be stressed. Our anxiety will go down, overwhelm will disappear, and burnout will be no longer. I would love nothing more than that for you. So, thank you so much, Arlene, for hanging out with us today, and can't wait to keep learning from you.
Thank you.